October 4th, 2007, Deerfield, Illinois, a quiet, tree-lined suburb just north of Chicago. The kind of place where people leave their doors unlocked, where kids ride bikes after school, where nothing bad ever happens. In fact, nothing bad had happened there in over 30 years. That was about to change. It's early morning, and a 42-year-old woman is getting ready for work. She's 7 months pregnant, glowing, just weeks away from meeting her daughter for the very first time. She walks to her front door, reaches for the handle, and opens it. Someone is standing on the other side. What happens next takes only seconds. 6 shots, fired at point-blank range. 2 of them aimed not at her, but at her unborn baby. And even as she falls, even in those final moments, she wraps her arm around her stomach, trying to shield her daughter from the bullets. A mother, until her very last breath. A neighbor hears something, muffled sounds coming through the walls. She tries calling. The phone just rings and rings. She dials 911. When police arrive, they find Rhoni Reuter dead on her kitchen floor. No signs of a break-in, nothing stolen, nothing disturbed, just a woman and her unborn baby girl, gone. And what investigators would uncover in the months that followed would shake the city of Chicago to its core. A celebrated NFL hero with a double life, an 18-year relationship built on secrets, a dangerous web of jealousy, obsession, and ice-cold calculation. This is the story of Rhoni Reuter, and the shocking truth of what was waiting behind her door that morning. Before we go further, this video covers a real murder case involving the death of a pregnant woman and her unborn child. Some of the details are disturbing, and some viewers may find the content upsetting. Viewer discretion is advised. To understand this story, you first have to understand Chicago, and you have to understand what the Chicago Bears meant to that city. In 1985, the Bears didn't just win the Super Bowl. They went 15-1. They crushed the New England Patriots 46-10, and they did it with a swagger that no team had ever quite pulled off before or since. They became cultural icons, thanks to their charismatic personalities and the now legendary Super Bowl Shuffle music video, a rap song recorded before they'd even clinched the championship. Pure confidence, pure Chicago. 2 decades later, those players were still royalty in that city, still celebrated at conventions and charity events and Bears reunions, still untouchable. And Shaun Gayle was one of them, a Super Bowl champion, a former defensive back who'd played 11 seasons for the Bears, a man with a college degree, a local TV presence, and a line of children's books about right and wrong. He was charming, well-spoken, polished, exactly the kind of man a city puts on a pedestal. And just north of that city, tucked quietly along Lake Michigan, sat Deerfield, one of the safest places in Illinois, with a violent crime rate nearly 11 times lower than the national average. The kind of suburb where professionals settled down, raised families, and felt genuinely safe inside their own homes. Great schools, manicured streets, the kind of place where neighbors still knew each other's names. It was also the place Rhoni Reuter called home. And in the fall of 2007, this peaceful town, this celebrated football hero, and a cast of complicated women whose lives had quietly been tangled together for years, were all about to collide in a way nobody could have predicted. This is a story about obsession, about loyalty stretched past its breaking point, and about what happens when a man's secret double life finally catches up, not just with him, but with everyone in his orbit. Before we go further, let us know where you are watching from and subscribe to this channel. Her name was Rhoni Reuter, and to understand who she was, you first have to picture where she came from: Potosi, Wisconsin. A tiny village of just a few hundred people nestled along the bluffs of the Mississippi River in the southwestern corner of the state. The kind of place where everybody knows your name before you've finished introducing yourself. Where front doors stay unlocked and neighbors show up with food when life gets hard. The kind of town that raises people with roots. And Rhoni had roots. Her family describes her the same way every single time. Without hesitation. Without having to think about it, her sister-in-law Anna said it best. From the minute you saw her, you felt happy just being with her. Her brothers Wade and Thad adored her. Her mother Lori treasured her. This was a woman who called her family every single night no matter how busy life got, who made sure she was home every Christmas, who wanted to be the one handing presents to the kids, playing Santa, watching their faces light up. She was very caring. Wade said, always thought of other people. She eventually left Potosi and made her life in Chicago, 200 miles away from everything she knew, but she never let the distance grow between herself and her family. She carried Potosi with her everywhere she went. In Chicago, she worked hard, juggling 2 jobs, one in the food industry and one at Macy's. Independent, self-sufficient, never one to complain. The kind of woman who built her own life quietly and with dignity. And then, there was Shaun. She met him in the late 1980s near her Wisconsin hometown. He was practicing at a Chicago Bears training camp. She was a college girl from a small town who had no idea that this meeting would shape the next 2 decades of her life. She fell in love, completely, totally, the way some people only ever love one person. And for nearly 18 years, she stayed. They never lived together, never married. Shaun rarely came for holidays, never really got to know her family the way they hoped he would. Her brothers waited year after year. Christmas invitations extended. Year after year. Declined. He was gone. Wade said quietly, she'd say he's over in Europe. She never really talked a lot about him. Rhoni always had an answer ready. He's a private person, she'd say, and her family would nod, and they would wait, because she loved him, and that was that. I just love him, she told Anna once when pressed about why she stayed. I don't know what to tell you. I just love him. Then, in early 2007, after nearly 20 years together, something changed. Rhoni was pregnant at 41 years old. A woman her family had quietly feared might never get the chance to be a mother was expecting a baby girl. They decided to name her Skylar. Her mother Lori's words still hang in the air. Skylar was going to be our little miracle baby. In September of 2007, Wade and his wife Lori traveled to Chicago to visit Rhoni. They took photos, and what they saw stopped them in their tracks. That was the happiest I've ever seen my sister in my life, Wade said. She was just glowing. Rhoni Reuter, finally, after all those years of waiting, was right on the edge of everything she had ever wanted. Those September photos would be the last ones ever taken of her. Less than 3 weeks later, she was gone.
And, I still think I'm gonna wake up and it's gonna be something that happened.
Now, to understand what happened to Rhoni, you have to understand the man she loved. Shaun Gayle looked like everything a city could want in a hero. Super Bowl champion, 11 seasons with the Bears. A college-educated man who earned his degree in education from Ohio State University. Polished, charming, the kind of man who lit up any room he walked into. Chicago sports reporter Bruce Wolfe had covered him for 30 years and put it simply, Shaun Gayle has always come across as an intelligent, forthright, charming man. A guy that you'd like to know. And when his playing days ended, he didn't disappear. He reinvented himself. In the 1990s, Gayle wrote a series of rhyming, values-based children's books called Shaun Gayle's Sports Tales, released by a Christian publishing house. Titles like The Little Quarterback and Golden Shoe Goalie, stories about perseverance, about right and wrong, about being a good person. He even appeared on the Today Show to talk about why he wrote them. Perseverance, right and wrong, good and bad. The irony of that would come into sharp focus later, because behind the wholesome public image, Shaun Gayle was living a very different private life. Investigators would eventually learn that over a 3-year period. He had been romantically involved with or pursuing nearly 18 different women simultaneously, while Rhoni, his girlfriend of almost 2 decades, remained at the center of it all, faithful, devoted, waiting. 2 of those women would become central to this story. The first was Monika Kurowska, a Polish-born fitness model and personal trainer he met at a Chicago Bears event in 2006. The relationship was intense but short, and when it ended badly that May, things got complicated quickly. Shaun said Monika showed up at his apartment one night in a rage. He found her outside with a bloody hand and a broken window. He eventually obtained a restraining order against her, and not long after that, anonymous letters began arriving, sent to the women in Shaun's life, written in broken, stilted English as if by someone whose first language wasn't English, letters exposing his cheating, warning women away from him, naming names. Everyone assumed it was Monika, but Monika had an alibi for the morning Rhoni was killed, and police would later discover she had nothing to do with the letters at all. The second woman was Marne Yang. On the surface, she seemed driven, ambitious, full of energy. A divorced mother of 3 working multiple jobs. Real estate agent, aspiring fitness model. She met Gayle at a Bears convention where she was working security, and the two eventually became what prosecutors would later call occasional sex partners, while she also handled real estate deals for him. Her photographer Jason Stoller took over 1,000 photos of her across 4 shoots in 2006 and 2007. He described her as incredibly driven, someone who pushed and pushed and pushed. She has fun. She enjoys herself. She wants to shoot and shoot and shoot, he said. His girlfriend Miranda Bauman did Marnie's makeup and remembered being struck by how tiny she was, barely a size 2, full of restless, crackling energy. But it was something Marnie did at her very last shoot in the winter of 2007 that Jason never forgot. She arrived wearing a specific outfit, a Chicago Bears top, with Chicago Bears written across the front and across the back, and she asked Jason to take photos of her in that outfit, specifically for Shaun. She said, what Rhoni knew or didn't know about Marne Yang is unclear, but by 2007 those same anonymous letters had started finding their way to her door too, warning her about Shaun, about all the other women. Rhoni's mother received one. Shaun told her they were lies from a crazed fan, and Rhoni believed him. But on the morning Rhoni Reuter was found dead on her kitchen floor, detectives reached into her purse and found one of those letters inside.
And everything's spinning through my head. What could have happened? What happened? You're thinking, well, was she downtown shopping and this happened?
We just knew she was gone and we didn't understand.
Out to get her?
No. If you knew Rhoni, there's no way you could do something like this. If you really knew her.
To understand what Rhoni Reuter walked into, you need to understand who Marne Yang really was, and the picture that emerges goes back long before Shaun Gayle ever entered the story. Marnie grew up in Skokie, Illinois, ambitious, intense, magnetic, the kind of person who filled every room she walked into. But underneath that energy, there was something that the people closest to her quietly recognized as a warning sign. Her high school friend Melissa Descent described a young Marnie as someone who became fixated. When she wanted something or someone, she didn't just pursue it, she consumed it. There was a boy she liked at another school, and when he moved on and found a new girlfriend, Marnie didn't let go. She drove hours on weekends to show up unannounced at his campus, called repeatedly, sent letters, classic stalking behavior, before anyone was really using that word. Then came Yen Yang, a Cambodian-American man her family absolutely adored. Kind, steady, easygoing. The kind of stable presence that should have grounded her. But even during their courtship, Marnie displayed behavior that made Yen uncomfortable, threatening suicide if they broke up, scattering pills around the bathroom to make the threat feel real, clinging to him in ways that crossed the line between love and control. They married in 1990, but the marriage never really had a chance. At her own bachelorette party, Marnie disappeared into a back room with a male stripper, and according to Melissa, after coming home from her honeymoon she wanted to go back and see him again. The marriage ended in divorce in 1997 because of her affairs with other men, including at least one Chicago police officer, and that relationship with the officer would reveal a pattern that would repeat itself again and again. The officer obtained an emergency order of protection against Yang in 1998, alleging that she had sent a harassing letter to his wife, and then a separate letter to him, threatening his life, career, and marriage. The complaint stated he feared for his safety and the safety of his family, a married cop, so afraid of this woman, that he filed a restraining order, and Marni, she filed one right back against him, claiming he had threatened to ruin her chances of becoming a police officer. She had applied to the Chicago Police Department twice and been turned down both times, but she stayed deeply connected to police culture, volunteering for nearly a decade in Chicago's Neighborhood Watch program, befriending officers, learning how they operated. That detail would matter later. Authorities summed it up plainly. She has a pattern of jealousy. And when Marne Yang set her sights on Shaun Gayle, that pattern didn't disappear, it escalated. Police soon discovered from talking to friends and family that Marni referred to Shaun as her boyfriend. Even though he was simultaneously seeing multiple women, she believed, or told herself, that she was the one he truly wanted. When she discovered the full extent of his other relationships, she didn't walk away. She went to work. Bank statements pulled from her trash showed she had been paying for background checks on the other women in Shaun's life, researching them, building files on them, tracking them like she was running an investigation of her own. Then investigators believe she hacked into Shaun's email account, found the messages from Monica Koroska, studied the way Monica wrote, the broken English, the cadence, and began crafting letters designed to look exactly like they came from Monica. Letters sent to every woman in Shaun's life, exposing his cheating, sowing chaos, and pointing the finger squarely at an innocent woman. The result? Gayle filed a restraining order against Monica. She was investigated. She was threatened with deportation from the country she had built her life in, and Marne Yang thought that was funny. Marni bragged about how Monica might be deported. Deerfield police detective Juan Mazariego recalled, "She laughed about it. That just told us she was very vindictive and would do anything to get anyone out of the way. Anyone." The night of October 3rd, 2007, Marne Yang brought dinner to Shaun Gayle's home, stayed for a while, and by his own admission on the witness stand, they had sex that night, but Marni had somewhere else to be. She drove to the home of her friend Christy Passion, a self-described psychic she'd known for years, and what happened in that house that night is among the most chilling details of this entire case. Marni told Christy she was going to kill Rhoni Reuter the next morning, because she couldn't stand that Rhoni was pregnant. Christy tried to talk her out of it. She didn't believe Marni would actually go through with it, but Marni asked Christy to do a tarot card reading, specifically to find out whether she would be successful in killing Rhoni. Christy flipped a card, and it indicated achievement of a goal. Before Christy fell asleep that night, Marni told her she would think about it. When Christy woke up the next morning, Marni was gone. October 4th, 2007, across town in Deerfield, Rhoni Reuter was starting her morning like any other, 7 months pregnant, getting ready for a shift at Macy's, the store where she'd worked for years. The baby clothes her friends had given her still piled on the dining room table. An ultrasound photo of little Skylar pinned to the refrigerator. She got herself together, walked to her front door, and opened it. A figure was standing in the hallway outside, dressed in a dark hoodie, dark makeup covering her face, a wig, oversized sunglasses, gloves on both hands. Rhoni saw the gun, and she screamed. She started screaming, and I just let her have it. The shooter would later say, 6 shots, fired at close range with a 9mm handgun. 2 of them aimed deliberately at Rhoni's abdomen, aimed at Skylar. Rhoni tried to retreat back into her apartment. The shooter followed her into the kitchen, and even in those final moments, even as the bullets tore through her, Rhoni wrapped her left arm around her stomach, trying to protect her daughter, a mother, until her very last breath. When Rhoni went down, the shooter fired one final shot into the back of her head, then stepped over her legs to reach the door, closed it behind her, and walked away, but not before doing one more thing. She reached down and slipped a small beaded bracelet from Rhoni's wrist, a medical alert bracelet, engraved with a single word, pregnant. She took it with her, outside, A witness caught a glimpse of a small, slim figure in dark, baggy clothes walking quickly across the parking lot toward a black car. The witness assumed it was a young black teenager in a hoodie. Nobody stopped to look twice. The black car pulled away. A neighbor heard the muffled sounds. Called Rhoni's phone. It rang and rang. She dialed 911. When police arrived, they found Rhoni Reuter dead on her kitchen floor, surrounded by the baby clothes she would never need. Next to the ultrasound photo of the daughter she would never hold, it was the first murder Deerfield had seen in 30 years, and the whole city of Chicago was about to wake up to the news.
When officers enter her apartment, they see pictures of Shaun Gayle throughout the condominium. The officers knew those were pictures of Rhoni and Shaun Gayle because Shaun Gayle is a celebrity in the Chicagoland area.
When the news broke across Chicago that morning, it spread faster than police could control it. Shaun Gayle heard about Rhoni's death from former Bears teammates before a single detective had even called him. And he didn't wait. He picked up the phone and called Deerfield police himself. You could still smell the odor of gunpowder when officers arrived at the scene. And now here was Rhoni's boyfriend of nearly 2 decades, calling in, asking if the rumors were true. When the officer confirmed Rhoni was the victim, Gayle broke down in hysterical sobs. He was told to stay away from the condo and come straight to the station. But when Gayle walked through those doors, something shifted. The man who had been sobbing on the phone was now composed, measured, almost detached. Detectives noted it. He was questioned for 10 hours, and the more they pressed, the more his timeline from the night before started to bend. What time did he go to bed? When did he leave? Where exactly had he been that morning? The answers kept drifting. He insisted he was innocent, and eventually investigators believed him. But not before he handed them something critical, a list, nearly 18 women he'd been romantically involved with or pursuing over the past 3 years. And at the top of the names he gave as a possible suspect, Monika Koroska. Monika was investigated. Her alibi checked out completely. She was training a client at the time of the shooting, cleared, and then the phone started ringing at Deerfield Police Department, 3 separate anonymous callers. None of them connected to each other. All of them with the same name, Marne Yang. The information they were leaving, Police Chief Slyoza said, was that she would be an individual capable of doing something like this because of the relationship she had with Shaun Gayle. One caller said she had a grudge and a gun. Police didn't have enough for a warrant yet. So they did what investigators do when they can't get inside a home. They went through the trash, and what they found in Marne Yang's garbage would change the entire direction of this investigation. In August 2007, just 2 months before the murder, Yang had purchased books on how to build a silencer for a handgun. Ordered online and overnight. She paid more for the shipping than for the books themselves. And on the same day those books arrived, she went to Home Depot and purchased every single item listed inside them. A keyhole saw, a hacksaw, rubber cups, duct tape, electrical tape, a marker, a file, a folding razor, piping, a metal hose clamp, 13 items, purchased in one trip. The same day the instruction manuals arrived. Police Chief Slyozas's words were measured but clear. Appears to be some type of plan in place, and she wants to act quickly. There was more. A search of Yang's workplace computer revealed a MapQuest record showing directions from her office to Rhoni Reuter's home address. She had looked up how to get there. From work, a contact at a gun range confirmed Yang had practiced shooting with a 9mm handgun, the same caliber weapon that killed Rhoni. Then investigators checked rental car databases and found that in the days surrounding the murder, Yang had rented a black Volkswagen Rabbit, seemingly the same car spotted on surveillance footage at a gas station near Rhoni's home the morning of the murder, and the phone number she listed on the rental form traced back to a disposable cell phone purchased with cash at a Walmart 1 week before the shooting. Call records placed her in Deerfield that morning. The prosecutor, Lake County State's Attorney Michael Waller, laid it out plainly. She had motive, Now they had opportunity. But Waller wasn't ready to move yet. "We don't have any physical evidence tying her to the scene," he said. "No blood, no hair, nothing." They had built half a case. A compelling half. But half wasn't enough. They needed to hear it from Marne Yang herself, and they had an idea of exactly how to make that happen. Almost a year and a half had passed since Rhoni Reuter was killed, and Marne Yang was still free. Police were convinced she had done it. The prosecutor was convinced she had done it, but without physical evidence placing her at the scene. Without a confession. Their hands were tied, so they turned their attention to the one person they believed knew everything, Christy Passion, a self-described psychic and tarot card reader who had known Marni for nearly 2 decades, and who had been carrying what she knew like a stone around her neck. After hours of intensive questioning, Passion finally broke, and what she told investigators was staggering. She confirmed Marni had told her the plan the night before the murder. She confirmed Marni had come to her apartment the evening of October 4th, hours after Rhoni's body was discovered, and described in detail exactly what she had done. She also told police something else, that she had watched Marni bury something small behind an Arlington Heights banquet hall that night. Police asked Passion if she would wear a wire. She didn't hesitate. It was the first wiretap operation of its kind in Lake County history. Investigators from Lake County went through state police training just to operate the surveillance room, listening around the clock, waiting for their moment. On March 2, 2009, police strapped a body wire onto Christy Passion and sent her in. The location, a Denny's restaurant in Arlington Heights, unmarked police cars in the parking lot, undercover officers positioned inside. The 2 women sat down together, ordered food, and began to talk, and what came out of Marne Yang's mouth that night was recorded on tape for the world to hear. She talked about the disguise, the wig, the dark makeup, the oversized sunglasses, the gloves. She talked about standing in that hallway, waiting, nearly losing her nerve, almost deciding to leave. She started to decide she was going to leave. Then Miss Macy's opened the door. She started shooting. She talked about Rhoni screaming, about following her into the kitchen, about firing until she went down. "I took maybe 1 or 2 steps into the kitchen to finish the job," she said. "All she was doing was screaming until she went down." She talked about the final shot, describing how she fired the last bullet into Reuter's head as she lay dying. And then she said something that stopped every investigator listening in that surveillance room cold. Something that could only have come from the person who was there. Her leg was sticking out into the hallway. "I had to kick it inside. Then I slammed the door. Took off. That was it." The detail about the legs, about having to move them to close the door, was never released to the public. Never reported in the news. Never part of any official statement. Only the killer would know that. She also called the detectives working the case stupid suburban morons, confident she had outsmarted everyone. After the meeting, using the information Passion had given them, investigators went to the spot behind the Arlington Heights banquet hall where Marni had been seen burying something that night. They dug and found it, a small beaded bracelet with a single word on it, pregnant. Rhoni's co-workers immediately recognized it. They had seen her wearing it regularly right up until the day she died. She had been wearing it the morning she opened that door. Police Chief Slyosis called it exactly what it was, the definitive piece of evidence that investigators had been looking for 17 months. The morning after the Denny's meeting, police drove to Marne Yang's home and placed her under arrest. State's Attorney Michael Waller put it plainly. In the end, Marne Yang's own words led to her being arrested for first-degree murder. It had taken 16 months, but the net had finally closed.
Yeah, well, it's all their friends.
Oh, yeah. Obviously no gang affiliation. Criminal history, you ever been arrested?
No.
Okay. I think it's a lot of stuff.
That'd be Mom's gang.
Really?
Yeah.
Soccer moms?
You seen the Burger King commercials?
Yeah, I saw it.
The ones that chasing
They get pissed on ones, yeah.
Soccer Mom gang.
Okay.
March 2011, the courtroom in Waukegan, Illinois was packed. Nearly 100 people filling every seat. Family members from both sides. Journalists, members of the public who had followed this case for years. Rhoni's family sat on one side, Marne Yang's family on the other. The prosecution played the Denny's recordings in open court. The voice on the tape calm, almost casual, describing in her own words how she had shot a pregnant woman to death. Rhoni's parents stood up and walked out of the room. They couldn't listen. The defense lasted 30 minutes, called 3 witnesses. Marne Yang never took the stand. The jury found that Yang had committed the murder in a cold and calculated fashion. They deliberated for just 4 hours. Guilty. Double life sentence. Without the possibility of parole, Judge Stride had only one sentencing option available to him, and he used it without hesitation. Rhoni's brother Thad stood outside the courthouse afterward and said what his family had been waiting 4 years to say. Knowing that someone is behind bars for life for what they've done for my sister will help in the healing process for us. But the case was far from over. From inside Logan Correctional Center in Lincoln, Illinois, Marne Yang never stopped fighting. She maintained from the beginning that she had known Christy Passion was wired at that Denny's table, that she had seen the wire slipping from beneath Christy's clothing, and that everything she said that night was fabricated. A desperate plan to get herself arrested and get the case in front of a judge, to protect her teenage son from being charged with a murder he didn't commit. Her children stood by her completely. Her father, Larry Mayer, spent over $1 million funding her defense, and a new legal team began tearing through the evidence piece by piece. What they found raised serious questions. Defense experts testified that Yang, at 5 feet tall, could not have fired the shots that killed Rhoni Reuter, who stood 5 feet 9. The bullet trajectories indicated the shooter had to be significantly taller. DNA and fingerprints recovered from shell casings found within inches of Rhoni's body were tested, and they didn't match Yang. They belonged to an unknown male. And then, Yang's defense team produced a witness that sent a jolt through the entire case. A barber who claimed that, on the morning of the murder, Shaun Gayle came into the shop disheveled and sweating, and said, "It's over. I did it. She's dead." Gayle, who now lives in the United Kingdom, has never been charged with any wrongdoing. In January 2026, a 3-day evidentiary hearing concluded in the Lake County courtroom of the same judge who presided over the original trial, Judge Christopher Stride, with a ruling on whether Yang gets a new trial expected in the spring. As of today, the case remains open, unresolved. The question of what really happened in that hallway still hanging in the air. Rhoni's brother Thad has only one answer. We believe she is guilty. She admitted to it. She was convicted of it. And we're going to make sure Rhoni's voice is heard. And so we come back to where we started. A small-town girl from Potosi, Wisconsin, who moved to the big city, fell in love with a football hero, worked 2 jobs, called her family every single night, and spent nearly 20 years waiting for a man who was never fully hers. She was weeks away from finally having the family she had always dreamed of. A daughter named Skylar. A future that was finally taking shape. She opened her door on an ordinary Thursday morning, and Skylar never took a breath. This case asks us something that true crime always asks. Quietly, after the verdicts are read and the courtrooms empty out, how well do we really know the people in our lives? How much can obsession quietly build inside someone we think we understand? And what happens when love curdles into something unrecognizable? Rhoni Reuter deserved better than the life she was given. And she deserved better than the death she was dealt. Her name was Rhoni. She was kind, she was warm, she was loved, and she should never be forgotten.